Well, thank you. Got it. So as we did today's meeting, many organizations passed on our email looking for support. And when you see that happening with an organization out in Buffalo, passing it on to 68 other groups, it's heartwarming. And we see that from Long Island to Buffalo and throughout the state. We're going to continue to ask for your support in dealing with this addiction. Next slide, please. And basically, this is what we're here for today. Two things. Probably the most important message that I'm going to share with you today is the need to prioritize problem gambling. And if we think about that, why is that important? Because right now, we really do not prioritize problem gambling in the state of New York. If we take a look at the New York State Senate and the New York State Assembly, the New York State Senate has an alcohol and drug abuse committee. They also have a committee for racing and wagering. The Senate has a committee on alcoholism and substance abuse and racing, gaming, and wagering. Nowhere is there a committee dealing with problem gambling. And yet, if we take a look at losses by New York State residents, we'll see that the numbers are extremely high. In 2019, the New York State Gaming Commission, the lottery, had $10.2 million in revenue, or as we like to call it here, the council losses. That's $10.2 billion. That's a large number. What we also see, if we take a look at it, this year at Saratoga, they increased their handle by over 15%. The industry shares that 2021 commercial casinos will have the best year that they've ever had. So if you take a look at the losses that New Yorkers had over the years, that's one reason it needs to be prioritized. And with the coming of mobile sports betting, projections are for another $1 billion to be lost by New Yorkers. A reason why it needs to be prioritized. Just the amount of money that's being lost. We also need to take a look at the structure of New York State. We have a New York State Gaming Commission, which does a few jobs. They regulate gambling in the state of New York. They promote gambling in the state of New York through New York State Lottery. And they also are in charge of the whole concept of anything to do with gaming and gambling in the state of New York. So if you take a look at that, even they can't prioritize problem gambling because they're promoting it and they're also regulating it. As we take a look at some of the revenues in the state of New York, some of the budgets for OASAS's budget is over $800 million. Office of Mental Health's budget is over $4.5 billion. And yet only $5.7 million was given for problem gambling services in the state of New York. Does not seem to be equitable at all. And if you take a look at that, $11 billion in losses and $5.7 million for services, something's wrong with that equation. And so what we're trying to do here today is make sure that we advocate for additional revenue so we can provide the services that the problem gamblers and their families need. And if you take a look at it, how much money has been invested by their losses over the years, that services should be free of charge and should be ample and should be for all New Yorkers that need it. We need prevention services, education services, treatment services. We need research, we need education, and $5.7 million is just not going to cut it. Thank you. We can go to the next page. We go to the next page. One more. Thank you. Recent expansion. If you think about it, we're here to talk about mobile sports betting, but I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the recent expansion that has occurred in the state of New York recently. We've had, the commercial casinos launch. We have sports betting at the commercial casinos, and I think October, $25 billion in losses there already, which is a small number, yet it's been their best month ever. Probably the most interesting one is the New York jackpot. And the New York jackpot is being done via the phone. It's an online app via your phone, via your computer. And they've already seen about a 21% increase over the last quarter to this quarter. And if you take a look at it, that's where everything's going. That's what mobile sports betting is going to mimic. And that's going to be obviously the wave of the future, gambling from your phone and your tablet or from wherever. And to have a 21% increase over the last quarter is pretty substantial. And they believe that that will continue on, and that will be the wave of the future for most people to get their lottery products will be via the online. And when we take a look at it, just via that, instead of now having to get in your car, walk to the bodega, whatever, just do it on your phone. The availability and opportunity is so much quicker and so much faster. We also take a look at sports betting, online mobile sports betting in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, our neighbors. And they both, for the first time, went over $1 billion in revenue, $1 billion in losses in a year, which is astronomical. It's so much better than they anticipated, and they believe that that will continue. And if you take a look at that, how fast that went, how fast they got over the $1 billion mark, because what we're finding out is the availability and opportunity and the easy access to gambling via mobile is making things so easy all around. Next slide, please. So what are we seeing for problems? Well, obviously we know when availability and opportunity comes so much quicker and so much faster, we're going to have issues with it. And the issues that we're seeing are in Australia, which is a mature market. They've had sports betting and mobile betting for a while. Recent research showed that about 9% of the people, 9.1% of the people involved are having some difficulties with it. And that's a high number if you think about it. But it makes sense why we would have an increase in issues as relation to an apparatus that is hidden, that can be done anytime, day or night, in your closet if you want. Any place you want to do it, any time of the day, any moment, how fast and how quick it's coming. And with that comes difficulties and problems. If you take a look at what's going on in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey, the numbers to their helplines have increased astronomically. And if the numbers are going to show Pennsylvania, the internet calls have increased by 285% since this began. 285%. That's a tremendous, tremendous increase in the amount of callers looking for help in Pennsylvania. In New Jersey, what they're sharing is that 50% of the treatment now, 50% of the people that are in treatment for problem gambling in the state of New Jersey are sports bettors. And if you take a look at that, and if that's what's going to happen in New York, we are not prepared for it. If we see that increase, and that's what we believe we will see that increase, we are not prepared for it. We need additional revenues, we need additional resources. 285% increase in calls in Pennsylvania, short period of time, and 50% of folks in treatment in New Jersey. We have to get ready for this, and we're not. This is going to start. And you think about it, this is just not, mobile sports betting is just not starting from zero. We have every other form of gambling already going on in the state of New York. This is additional to it. We need to know that. It's an additional for folks. Additional $1 billion being projected that's going to be lost in the state of New York. And we are giving $6 million for revenues. That's 0.06%. That's not even 1% of the money that's lost. Less than 1%, folks. We need to advocate for additional revenues because we need to go back to who is being hurt. our neighbors, our community members, our family members. Doesn't discriminate. We're going to have additional problems. We need additional help. Next slide, please. Next one. Now we take a look at advertisement. You've seen it already. If you're watching any football game, any sporting event, if you're watching it with your young son or your children, every time they watch a sporting event, they are being bombarded with gambling advertisement. You think about it, who they are advertising to. The 14-year-old, your 14-year-old son, your 14-year-old nephew, your 18-year-old son, your 18-year-old nephew, your cousins. They're all seeing it. As I said in the meeting we went to the other day for the industry, it's the Wild West right now. Anything goes in advertisement. They're going to be pumping so much money into advertising. Why? Because they have to get to hook the client. That's the mentality of it. And so we take a look at the marketing budgets. There are none. They need to get the market share. They need to put it out there. They're also going to be putting out promo bids. And what they share about their promo bids, first of all, they say risk-free betting. Risk-free. There's no such thing as risk-free betting. Ask any problem gambler. It wasn't a risk-free the first time they gambled. The second time, it became a problem. No such thing. It's a lie. I want you to know that. It's a lie in advertisement. It's not a risk-free. They're going to say on many of these, they'll give you $1,000 to sign up, risk-free. $2,000 to sign up, risk-free. Unheard of. I would love to give our clients $2,000 to sign up to get help, $1,000 to sign up to get help. Call the New York Council on Problem Gambling. We'll give you $500 if you come into treatment to get help. Imagine that we had the resources that the gambling industry has, how they're going to be pumping millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they already have, how they need to hook folks. And the marketing right now is who they're looking for the legal gambling is the 21 to 40-year-old, but we know who's receiving the marketing. The 10-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, it's on Facebook, it's all over the place. That is what we need to help. We need counter advertisement for that. We need to share that there is help available. And the more they make this the norm, the more they make it that everybody else is okay with this. And only if you have a problem, there's something wrong with you. No, we need help. We need your assistance. Next slide, please. Promos and credits. Now you think about it. For years and years, we did not allow credit card usage whatsoever because we know you think about credit card, right? What credit is. You'll pay later on. And for a problem gambler or even a social gambler, that is a deadly, deadly opportunity. If I can use my credit card, if I can pay Paul, pay Peter, whatever the saying is later on down the road, what problem gambler wouldn't do it? It used to be a safeguard put in place so people wouldn't get in trouble. And now it's every day. It's normal behavior. And I understand it. But if you think about it, that's why we need everything focused on problem gambling. We need to take a look at credit cards. We need to take a look at an education campaign addressing this. Every time we talk about a promos or credit cards, we need counter advertisement. We need education for everybody. We need education for our 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds regarding this. Next slide, please. What's coming next? If you thought it was just going to be mobile sports betting, there's a lot more coming down the road. We have online raffles that now are going in the process of being legalized. Not legal yet, but they're in the process of it. So your VFW, your American Legion, your any charitable organization now can have it done online instead of having to go to the facility to, gamble, to get your raffle. Now you'll be able to do it online. Once again, another increase in availability and opportunity for folks. We also have the three commercial casino license downstate. There's a big push for them to become activated. And that's a huge thing, 3 new casinos downstate. And we already have Aqueduct and Yonkers that perhaps will get the licenses. But once again, there'll be a huge push for that. And that 3rd casino license will be amazing. It'll be wanted by huge organizations, corporations. They're looking at all places in New York, looking for in Manhattan, and having been to a couple meetings where the industry has talked about it, they would do anything to get a casino in New York City. So there's going to be a big push for that. Online poker, there's going to be another push for online poker and online sports betting for horse racing. So if you just take a look at it, this is all happening all at once, and it's never ending. You think about the expansion that has occurred just over the last few years, and it's going to continue and continue. And yet we don't have the resources to handle this. We don't have the infrastructure to handle this. We don't have enough manpower to handle this. And it's coming regardless. And so that's why, again, I ask for all your support going forward, because we're going to need it. Next slide, please. So we come to technology now. And if you think about technology and you think about our children are already on and have mastered the apparatus that's going to be used to deliver the product. Okay. Before in the past, you'd have to go to a place. You'd have to go to the track. You would have to go to the casino. You would have to go to the VLT parlor. You would have to. Now you don't. Everything will be delivered on the app, on the technology. And if you think about it, your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, your 14-year-old has already mastered the apparatus. And now the industry is just taking their product and putting it into the technology that your children have already mastered. For them, it's a match made in heaven if you think about it. And if you think about it, if that does not scare you, if that does not worry you, right? We need a lot more education on this. First of all, we do not know how fast and how much the technology is already changing us. But we do know with the technology, we're going to be able to gamble so much faster, so much easier. And not only that, is they're going to be able to have multiple bets at multiple times on multiple platforms right in front of you just by the push of the button. In many ways, it's very scary. As I sit here as the executive director of the New York Council on Problem Gambling, I have never seen anything like this in my 25 years of being in the field of problem gambling. We've had expansion before, but we never had expansion like this onto the technology. And I'll say it my last time, that our children who will eventually be the 18, the 19, the 20, the 21, the 22 others have already mastered. And so when we take a look at Instagram, TikTok, they're going to merge those with the gambling field and bring the whole entertainment to folks. And we have to get ready for that. We have to get ready for in-play gambling and sports betting. Will the next play be a pass? Will the next play be a running play? Will they gain multiple of hundreds and hundreds of bets at one time? So technology is on its way. It's here. Our kids have mastered it, and they're going to use it to their advantage. We really need to beef up everything we do regarding this. Thank you. Next slide, please. So who's at risk? I'm going to tell you right now, with this new technology, everybody's at risk. Everybody's at risk for this because it's faster, quicker. It can be done in the confines of your home, right? Talking about a hidden addiction before, now it's going to be completely hidden, 24/7, with limited safeguards in place. Right now, the ones that'll be targeted most are going to be the 18 to 40-year-old males. for sports betting, and they're going to be targeted hard. But we also know it doesn't discriminate there, right? When we take a look at, Jack Pocket, lottery games, which, continues to be one of the major selling points and one of the major problematics for folks in New York. It's not going to end. We also have to take a look at the underserved populations completely now. They need education information. They need treatment. They need the prevention work done. I'll just say we all right now are at risk. And if you think about it, you take a look, it usually hurts the most vulnerable populations. And we have to make sure that our efforts are really earmarked for everybody, but also the populations that are the vulnerable ones. And we're aware of who they are, and you're aware of who they are. And we just have to get the services out to them. We have to have a major campaign to make sure that we get education, information, treatment, prevention, public awareness, and research about this. Next slide, please. I know I'm running out of time. So we have to do a really good job going forward about awareness in our prevention education. We have to make sure that everybody's aware of what is going on, first of all, on a policy level. We have to make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on a, on the day-to-day level, on what's being pushed, on what's being advertised, on what's being done to make this as normal as possible. And we need to make sure that we do have counter advertisement, that we do have prevention in every area of New York State in every way possible. We need universal prevention to do that. We need resources to do that. As we talked about earlier, $11 billion is being lost on mostly state-sponsored gambling in the state of New York, and yet currently only $5.7 million going into the prevention, education, treatment, research of it. We need additional more. Next slide, please.
So, yeah, go ahead, John.
So I appreciate you listening to me. I hope I was able to share the help that we need, what the landscape looks like. It's a tough one out there for problem gamblers and their families. And I advocate for not only problem gamblers and their families today, but for the ones in the future. The folks that don't know that they're going to be hit by this. We advocate for them. So thank you. And I'll turn this over to Michelle now for our recommendations.
Thanks, Jim. So, as Jim said, laying the landscape, we have just a few minutes left. So I was going to practice speaking slow today, but I'm off the hook from having to do that. So our recommendations are fourfold over the next 4 years. One, we think there needs to be a New York State division of problem gambling, and we need that because, as Jim mentioned, right now gambling is kind of a drop in the bucket in relation to all other problems, whether it's the industry looking at it and they're saying, oh, this is one more issue we're dealing with in addition to deposit limits and counterfeiting and corruption, right? Or whether it's, the addiction field saying, well, we got to deal with opiate addiction and we got to deal with marijuana legalization. We need this to be prioritized, and we need an organization, a division that can do that as the sole priority, not just the number one priority. Second recommendation we have is for 3% of state revenues to go towards problem gambling services from mobile sports betting. As Jim mentioned, right now, it's less than 1% that we expect to be coming in for problem gambling specifically. And we think that law should be changed to be increased to 3% over the years coming. The third recommendation is that any new forms of gambling, including the online poker that we know will come, the online horse racing, on the heels of that, I'm sure iGaming will be coming, and that includes casinos online. We're saying that we need an additional 3% from any new forms of gambling to be dedicated to problem gambling services as well. And then the fourth recommendation is a comprehensive plan to address building the infrastructure that we need and to basically fill in the gaps of the services that we're not able to do at the current time. So big piece, as Jim mentioned several times, will be raising awareness over the next 4 years. And as you know, when it comes to doing statewide awareness campaigns, we look at just even DraftKings putting over 300 million just in the last quarter into marketing and advertising. Sky's kind of the limits in terms of where we could go if we had the appropriate funds available for problem gambling, advertising, and marketing as well. It seems like a lofty recommendation, but it really isn't. When we look at what's coming in for funding to our field just over the next couple of years, or at least what we're expecting to be coming, we really can move forward with some comprehensive planning. We just need to be strategic about it and make sure that we're all communicating and prioritizing the issue. And again, hence the division on problem gambling for the state. So in 2022, we are expecting 6 million from sports betting. And then right on the heels of that, with the expansion to downstate casino licensees, another 9 million coming in. And then if our advocacy is successful, and that's why we need you, we want to see an additional funds coming 2024 and 2025 from new forms of gambling, as well as, 3% increase for mobile sports betting. So it really is something that we can accomplish, I think, with advocacy and with good, effective strategies and evidence-based work. We do have the ability to move forward and make this change and build the system in a positive way. So our entire staff got together and really took a look at not only what they've found from their needs assessments in New York State and the work that they've done assessing the needs of their regions and communities, but we also did some statewide needs assessment work. And what we really came away from that is that we're still at a very early stage of readiness. Awareness raising is the number one thing that we need to do. But we do have some holes in the system that we need to fix and to build. And so we're recommending that with the funds that are going to be here in just a few short months, that we start working in year one on improving our helpline and making that a standalone problem gambling helpline so that we can get people immediately to someone who will connect them to services without being, second in line after the substance abuse piece. And what we're dealing with right now, once again, is when we are joined with the problem gambling and substance abuse helpline, it's a heavier lift to get people where they need quickly. We are also recommending, voluntary self-exclusion improvements. We need those folks who are excluding from casinos and other forms of gambling to get immediately to a person that can assist them, someone who cares, someone who can provide the concern, the resources, the help that they need, not a security guard at a facility. In year two, really moving towards research and awareness programs, as I said, and Jim said as well, the statewide awareness programs, not just for the cause itself, but this is not one of those you build it and they come type systems. So we do also need comprehensive marketing for the services that are out there and available to make sure that we get people connected to the services. And then in year three, moving towards working with the industry a little bit more on evidence-based prevention efforts, things that can happen within the environment, the gaming environment, and responsible gambling. How do we raise awareness that there are things people can do to stay safe when we're talking about general population? And then, of course, expanded levels of care for treatment. Really, at this point in time, what we have is some outpatient programs that are combined with substance abuse outpatient, and we have private practice. And we need to see that grow from intervention to private practice to outpatient to inpatient that's standalone for gambling. It's really tough right now when someone needs inpatient services for them to go into a substance abuse facility and be the only one there struggling with problem gambling. And our ATCs have done a great job working to help those folks, but it's just a challenge that we face in a system that is not specific for problem gambling. And then in year 4, we need to have alternative sentencing programs for folks who are struggling on the criminal side of things. We are letting people fall through the cracks. The precedent has been set for treatment courts for gambling. We used to have it here in New York, and that's another piece of infrastructure that we absolutely have to work towards building. So I'm running out of time. You can click on this link. We'll be sending this presentation out to everyone afterwards. It'll bring you to the full comprehensive plan. This is really just the highlights of what we're recommending. And we will be able to certainly answer any questions anyone has regarding that plan. I will say that between our institutional knowledge, our staff who are out there every day helping individuals and talking to other organizations and communities that are dealing with this issue, that we really are in a good position to help people, and we believe these are the appropriate ways to move forward in doing that fairly immediately. So it's your turn. We're calling all advocates to come to the table to show their support for problem gambling. You're doing a fantastic job already just being on this call today. I know I saw Senator Adabo's office is on here, I'm sure, as well as several representatives from OASIS. So if you are in support, and I know that you are just by being here, of problem gambling services and this comprehensive plan for moving forward beginning this year, please click on the link to show your support. Again, I'll be sending this out afterwards to everyone who's registered, so you'll have the link on hand, and we'll put this in the chat box as well. It's going to bring you to a very quick survey that just asks whether or not you are going to support the council's recommendations and our ability to move forward and help people in the best way possible in New York State. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jim for any final comments he might have.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, my final comment is we need your help. I'm pleading for you to assist us, to assist those that need the help. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And this is the first time I'm actually a little scared about what's coming down the pike for folks. It's a strange new world out there, and I think the vulnerable people are going to have difficulty. So please, anything you can do to help, to support, to advocate for problem gamblers and families is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for attending. If you need to talk to any of us, please feel free to. We will be reaching out again for your support because, like I said, we need it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you and have a great day.